Hello and welcome to this week's Monday message here inside the practice community. I gotta say, in the last few weeks alone, we have had so many new members join. So if you are new to our community, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And this is just one of the many things you get as being a free member inside of this space are these Monday messages. These are just a few minute little insights, little mini teachings and opportunities for you as both a business owner and just a human being walking the planet to take some of this guidance into your work week, into your life, into your day, maybe even just into the next hour of your day. In today's message, I want to share how choosing to be a six-figure coach meant letting go of almost all of my money identities. Now, I will tell you right now, this is a micro teaching of a massive topic. Money is one of the most important topics and conversations you are going to have with yourself and with your business forever, really. If you're going to be doing this thing called business for the foreseeable future, then the topic of money is going to come along for that journey. So much so that my partner and incredible coach in her own right, Christine Wilborn, who I will tag in this message, she has created an entire business around money and money identity, money beliefs, money values. And if you're not a member in her community, also free, I highly recommend taking a peek. Trust me, you want to be in there. But I bring this in today because notice the intentional use of the word choose in the opening of today's message. Let's go back to it really quickly. I said how choosing to be a six-figure coach. That word is there on purpose. I know many of you want to be a six-figure coach, but have you chosen it yet? And it goes far beyond the simple statement of just naming what you want. I know you want to make money with your business. I know you want to do well with your business. And I want to clear up any potential judgment or criticism or shame of even wanting that six-figure whatever number to come after your business, because there's a difference, first of all, between making 100,000 and making 990,000. So those are all six figures in between those numbers. But what I think most of you are saying is, I want to make $100,000 a year. The most common number Chris and I see people share wanting to come out of their business, and by number I mean amount of money, is anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a month. And that's going to take you to between $96,000 and $120,000 a year. Now, this is something we're not going to talk about in today's teaching, but $100,000 sounds like an exorbitant amount of money. Maybe it does to you. It used to sound like a lot of money to me. And the reality is, well, yes, it is a lot of money. If that amount is coming into your business, it's not the amount that's coming home to you, because there's expenses and taxes, and you need to put aside a little bit for profitability, and there are unforeseen costs in business. So if you bring home $100,000 to the business, you're probably going to bring home anywhere from $60,000 to $70,000 to your personal checking account. That's a really awesome salary. It's, substantially higher than the average coach, but not impossible. And I know that for a lot of the people in this community, that is a place that they want to land. So that's why I bring this teaching in, because that used to be where I wanted to land as well. The first year that I was a certified life coach and a licensed business. So I had been coaching for a few years before I decided to make it my own private practice. And that was in 2014. And when I did that, I made a whopping $4,000 that year. Total transparency. It wasn't that much, but it meant a lot to me because I had never made that much money in my own business before. The second year in business, I made $35,000, which again, doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it was a big leap for me. And it was more than I thought I had done. But the third year was a magical compounded concoction of all sorts of things. And that's the year that I made my first six figures. I did about $170,000 that year. That is a huge jump, substantial jump. And I've been asked many times throughout my business, how the heck did I do that? I even got asked once, how did you deal with all your money baggage? And here's why I love this question, because behind the scenes, that is what was going on. Between years 2 and 3, it wasn't just that I charged more money or I got my shit together or suddenly people were buying or I magically became an awesome Instagram influencer overnight, which I assure you I did not. None of that was happening. As much as behind the scenes, I was unpacking dealing with, contending with, and understanding my view of this thing called money. Because you will always deliver in your business what you believe about your business behind the scenes. And behind the scenes is anything that's going on in your head, in your heart, in your belief system, in your values, in your perception of other people who do or don't have money. And there's so much more where that came from. And I had a lot of money baggage. And it was something that I knew at some point I would have to contend with in order to make that six figures on paper really happen. And I came down to more than this, but there were three primary identities that I really had to work with and work around and work to remove from my life. And when I say identity, what that means is the way that I saw myself based on the story I told myself about money. And again, if you want to dive into like, how do you actually do that work? Go see Chris. I cannot say that enough. All right. But I want to share with you the three identities that I really had to work with. And I think you can probably relate to these as well. The first was the wounded healer. You know, I entered coaching from the world of social work and counseling, and I believed that making money was in direct conflict with helping people. Another way of saying this was I didn't believe I could be spiritual. I didn't believe I could be genuinely helpful or in alignment with my values and make money. It felt like they were two sides of very different coins. And I also believed if I wanted to be seen as helpful, I had to maintain my wounds, especially around money. That sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? A lot of us want to be seen as really having our shit together. And that's the way that we think people are going to hire us. But I felt like if I made a lot of money and I was helping people who were wounded or also working through their own life baggage, then there was going to be an incongruence. And so I felt like I can't make more than the people that I help. I can't make money and be helpful because the people who need my help can't relate. That was the story I told myself. And I would call that being a wounded healer, someone who is using her own wounds as a means to help other people. Not always very empowering, but I think you can probably relate. The second identity I had to really contend with was the identity of rescuer. Early on, I believed I was taking money from people who were hurting, causing them more hurt. Now, I want to be clear. I've never taken money from anybody ever. It's not possible because I get consent. People sign agreements. They willingly and wantingly pay me for my services. But even when people were handing me checks, handing me credit cards, whatever it was, I felt like I was somehow taking that away from them. And I thought that was going to hurt them more. So instead, I wanted to rescue people by keeping them from enduring any more pain, even if it cost me everything, even if it added to my martyrdom or my wounded healer identity. So I would trade my services. I would charge very little money. I think the first year as a coach, I charged $45 an hour. And I thought that was like destroying people's lives. That was so much money. And to be fair, for some people, that is a lot of money, but it's relative to the time we're in and the place you live and the person that you are being. And that was not a substantial amount, but it was enough to light up all my fears. So I sold coaching for very little. I traded coaching. I gave extra sessions. I didn't keep track of things. I went over in my time. I would even just give it away for free, not as a means to help people, but because I didn't believe I was worth receiving if I wanted to rescue people, which I want to be clear. I don't want to rescue anybody anymore, but that's the place that I came from. The third was the biggest one and the one that I was dealing with even as recent as 6 months ago. And that was the identity that I was afraid of success. Sounds kind of odd, but of all my identities, this was the hardest one to shift because being successful felt like it would take all the people I loved the most away from me. And some of you may be able to relate to that. And there's some really interesting reasons I dug into with my own coach recently around this. Why do we fear being successful? I even wrote an article about it that's going to come out in a few weeks. Why are we so afraid of being brilliant, being seen? But that's just it, because when you're brilliant and seen, you're more at risk for rejection, criticism, judgment, or blame. And I did not see myself as someone that could be successful, make a lot of money, and still be accepted and loved and cared for by the people who mean the most to me. Now, to be fair, the more successful I am and the more money I make, there are some people who have willingly gone away from my life and who have chosen to not engage. And that is just the way the cookie crumbled. And I don't know how else to say it. And it wasn't like a big blow up. It wasn't like people were cruel or mean. People just naturally navigated their way away from me, and maybe vice versa as well. Social engagements are really complex things. We are social creatures. We are designed to be in community with each other. And when one of us changes the way that we do our life, and money being such a big part of that, it can change the dynamic of the places that you belong. It's not something to be afraid of. It is something to be aware of, however. So don't forget, we all have money stories being held in place by our identity, but are you telling yourself the right story for your dreams and goals? You will never not tell yourself a story. I have money stories still, but they serve me more than they harm me based on the places I'm going and the direction I want to take my work and my business today. All right, it's your turn. If you're ready to identify your own money identities holding you back, try on today's guidance, use the next steps below, comment below. I want you to tell me, yes, this is amazing, no, I hated this, or anything in between. I'm also going to tag Chris and share her community, which I wholeheartedly believe you all need to join. All right, have an awesome week here in the community, and I'll see you soon. Bye.